On March the 26th, 6,749 militants and their relatives left the southern part of eastern Ghouta and were transferred using 110 buses to the militant-held part of Idlib province, according to the Russian Center for Reconciliation of the Opposing Sides in Syria. Over the past 3 days, 13,190 militants and their family members have been evacuated from eastern Ghouta. Failaq al-Rahman also released 26 Syrian service members and civilians under the evacuation agreement. On the same day, the centre said that over 114,000 people had left eastern Ghouta via humanitarian corridors since the introduction of the daily humanitarian pause. The Syrian Arab Army, SAA, has established full control of the area of Harasta abandoned by members of Ara al-Sham and is now preparing to enter the remaining militant-held areas in the southern part of eastern Ghouta as militants withdraw. The SAA has also blown up a large HQ and an underground network of tunnels used by Failaq al-Rahman in the recently liberated town of Hazeh. This network had been a key logistical hub linking the militant-held areas in this part of eastern Ghouta. The area of Douma, controlled by Jaish al-Islam, de facto remains the only militant stronghold in eastern Ghouta. The group's political leader, Mohammed Aloush, claimed on the evening of March 26 that the group is not going to retreat from the town. Considering that the militants have little chance of keeping control of the city if the SAA continues its advance, this statement may be considered as another bargaining step in the ongoing negotiations. However, if a peaceful solution is not reached, the SAA and its allies will take military measures to wipe Jaish al-Islam out of eastern Ghouta. On March the 27th, rumours appeared that militants in the Al-Rastan pocket had agreed on a full reconciliation deal in the area, which will be backed by Russia. The situation remains unclear. However, earlier this month, Syrian aircraft dropped a series of leaflets over the Al-Rastan pocket, calling on militants to surrender and accept the deal. Such a move is often implemented ahead of advances by the SAA, so the threat of military force may once again push the militants' leadership to the negotiating table. Iraqi security forces, ISF, have deployed troops in large parts of the area of Sinjar in northern Iraq, from which the Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK, has retreated. An Iraqi army spokesman revealed the move on March 25 after the Kurdish group had announced a withdrawal of its forces from the town of Sinjar and its countryside. However, according to the announcement, PKK-linked security forces were set to remain in the area. Sinjar Mount is a long-time HQ of the PKK in northern Iraq. Reports about the PKK withdrawal came amid Turkey's open preparations for a possible military operation against the PKK in northern Iraq. We said we would go into Sinjar. Now, operations have begun there. The fight is internal and external, Turkey's President Recep Erdogan claimed on March 25. However, the Turkish president's claims contradicted a statement made on the situation by the Iraqi military. The security situation in Nineveh, Sinjar, and border areas is under the control of Iraqi forces, the Iraqi military said, denying news that foreign troops had crossed the Iraqi border into these areas. The situation is developing.
الله سوريا وبشار وبس. لك يا رب تنصر الجيش العربي السوري وترجع البلد كلها مثل ما كانت.
الحمد لله على سلامتك. الحمد لله على سلامتكم.
الله يسلمك يا رب.
احلى شباب. الحمد لله على سلامتكم. وصل للسرية. الله يسلمك. صور لك شي صورة دور لي العصفورة. تعال ورا يا حسن. انا وراك. تعال ورا. غطوا لي يا شباب. غطوا لي يا شباب. غطوا لي.
على اليمين خذ لي مدفعك. على اليمين خذ لي مدفعك. على اليمين. خذ لي علي. خذ على اليسار ورمي. خذ على اليسار علي. وطر رمي. ايوه تابع. تابع فراس. فراس تابع. تابع يا فراس.
خذ على يسار يعني وتر هيك. ايوه تابع فراس. فراس تابع يا فراس. تابع يا فراس تابع يا فراس تابع. محل عم يجي رميل الشاب. محل عم يجي رميل البيتين شباب. على اليسار منهم على اليسار. لكن بالارض لكن بالارض لكن بالارض لكن بالارض لكن بالارض يا رمال. الله حياك يا بطل. الله حياك. اسرع 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 يا علي. اسرع يا علي اسرع اسرع. لا 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 اسرع يا علي اسرع يا علي. اسرع يا علي. امام يساري امام يساري امام يساري. امام يساري يا علي. مدفعك للامام مدفعك للامام. ليكوا 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 حساوي جميل. وطي مدفعك امام مباشر امام مباشر امام مباشر امام مباشر امام مباشر.
هذا حرس الجمهورية. احنا ما وصلنا. من اليسار لك من محل معه.
واحد انت محمي يمينك في دي حطوا فيها يلا. يلا.
طلع على الباب اول شيء.
يلا عسل اطلع له يلا واحد بس. تعال محمود بس 4 طهروه بس حي يكفي.
Съемочная группа Федерального агентства новостей находится на окраине населенного пункта Хараста, откуда сегодня утром начался вывод боевиков группировки Ахрар-аш-Шам вместе с семьями. На данный момент было выведено 5 групп боевиков. В общей сложности это примерно 200 человек, и основная часть — это женщины и дети.
أنا أبو أخبر يا أنا على البيت.
Вопреки ожиданиям, боевики продолжают покидать Харасту. Еще 2 часа назад было неясно, каков конфликт между группировками, и одна явно мешала боевикам другой покинуть этот кусок анклава Восточной Гуты. Однако эвакуация боевиков в Идлиб продолжается, и съемочная группа Федерального агентства новостей продолжает наблюдать за этим процессом.
In recent days, Turkey achieved the most notable military victory since the Greco-Turkish War of 1919 to 1922. On March the 18th, the Turkish Armed Forces, or TAF, and the Turkish-backed Free Syrian Army, FSA, captured the city of Afrin from the Kurdish People's Protection Units, or YPG, following an almost 2-month-long military operation in northwestern Syria. The advance, entitled Operation Olive Branch, was widely covered in the Turkish media in a heroic style, creating a patriotic frenzy in the country. During the whole of 2017, the media and authorities were conducting a large-scale propaganda campaign supporting the military and encouraging citizens to enlist. Some foreigners visiting Turkey in the period mentioned leaflets in municipal transport vehicles promoting the ideal of becoming a martyr, defending the interests of the country and nation. Turkish policy is infamous for its flexibility, a rapid and often hard to predict ability to change priorities and allies. According to some reports, Turkish military victory in Afrin had become possible thanks to a political agreement between the Turkish leadership and the administration of the US President Donald Trump. In recent months, there was always at least one Turkish deputy foreign minister in the US for negotiations, and at one point, most of them were there together. Meanwhile, Ankara was involved in a successful political dialogue with Moscow, thus preventing Russian interference with its plans or support for the Syrian Kurds. Nonetheless, the US-Turkish backroom deal was the main factor behind the success in Afrin. The US halted its military support to Kurdish militias in northwestern Syria and pressured the Kurdish leadership in the rest of so-called Rojava, thus preventing a minor chance that the YPG, known in the mainstream media as the SDF, would open up a new front against the Turkish forces. As a result, the YPG abandoned its key stronghold of Afrin almost without firing a single shot. The number and types of weapons and ammunition captured by the TAF and the FSA in the city proves that the YPG in Afrin had been receiving military supplies from both the so-called US-led and Russian-led blocs. While details of the game behind the scenes are yet to be revealed, the recent developments have, in any case, led to the Turkish military and diplomatic successes. Almost immediately following the fall of Afrin, Turkey started implementing a more pro-US approach in its foreign policy. It wiped the YPG out of northwestern Syria and thus no longer needs to maneuver between the US and Russia over this issue. At the same time, Ankara's expansionist aspirations are still on the table. The Erdogan regime will try to annex the north and northwest of Syria by establishing a quasi-state or an autonomy controlled by its proxies. The Syrian government, Iran, and Russia will not be able to tolerate this. In this way, the US could become an organic ally of Turkey in northern Syria in the near future. However, the depth of the possible US-Turkish cooperation will depend on multiple factors. One of them is the Manbij issue. The city is currently controlled by the SDF, which is mostly a PR brand for YPG units backed up by the US. Ankara seeks to kick the YPG out of the city and its countryside by a military force. However, US troops deployed in Manbij and patrolling the Syrian-Turkish border in the SDF-held areas prevent this. In this situation, Turkey has proposed the US to establish a joint security zone in the area, which will not allow the YPG presence. However, the idea has not received the public support from Washington so far. That's funny, because no agreement has been reached. US Department of State spokesperson Heather Nauert told reporters on March the 20th. Commenting on the statement by the Turkish presidential spokesman, the sides have already reached an agreement over the city. The changes in the Turkish stance towards Russia can be clearly observed through its foreign policy rhetoric. On March the 16th, the country's foreign ministry issued an official statement describing the 2014 referendum in Crimea illegitimate. On the other hand, Ankara seeks to maintain at least neutral relations with Moscow and to develop further the economic cooperation with it. The Turk Stream pipeline is a strategically important project for the Turkish leadership because it will allow it to gain control over the transit of natural gas in southern Europe. In the coming months, Turkey will continue strengthening its political and military influence in the region, as well as developing its foreign policy activity. If Ankara succeeds in this, the other regional powers will face additional risks caused by the traditional pan-Turkish expansionism, which arises every time Turkey strengthens its military and political power. Meantime, Turkey has the following goals: to consolidate gains and to expand the territory under its control in northern and northwestern Syria, as well as in northern Iraq. The expansion in northern Iraq may be conducted under the pretext of military efforts against the Kurdistan Workers' Party, PKK. The military presence in neighboring countries will be justified publicly by the need to create so-called security zones to combat terrorism. To strengthen positions on the so-called Cyprus issue, Northern Cyprus is a self-proclaimed state occupying the northern part of the island and is recognized only by Turkey. Turkey maintains a notable military force there. To strengthen its influence in the Aegean Sea, and to expand its cultural and political influence in the Turkic states of Central Asia, and to restore its clandestine influence on the Turkic regions of Russia.